EP Magazine presents Layla Tamimi and her uplifting story, from suffering a debilitating paralysis and stroke to graduating this past January with honors from Montclair State University. In addition, we focus on vision, hearing, speech, and how these impact the development and education of people with special needs. Read it today at www.epmagazine.com.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
Suicide is preventable, and each of us has a role to play in suicide prevention.
Suicide is complex. There is no single cause.
And it's not always a mental health issue. It could be loss of a job or home, financial or relationship issues, pain, or leaving the military.
Suicide does not discriminate. It affects all ages, races, and genders, veterans or not.
If you know a veteran who is struggling, connect with them. Let them know help is available.
There is quick and easy access to services in times of crisis.
Dial 988, then press 1. Talking about it is okay.
Don't keep it inside. Don't be ashamed. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Got a bullet in my side and it hurts so bad, but you know I can't die 'cause my crew would be sad. 20 more days and Jody be taking my place. Come on NCO, gotta get on the ball and tell the RTO to put in a call. The medics here have done their best. Now it's time for the Dustoff to do the rest. The sun's going down and it's hard to see, but the bullets keep on flying all around me. I see a red light way up high. It's gotta be the Dustoff in the sky. I feel real bad leaving friends behind, but they say they're gonna get me back home on time. They're gonna fight all through the night, and when the morning comes I'll be out of sight. Well, here I am home sitting in my chair, got the TV on and guess what's on the air. There they are, they're
Welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hoobazoo Network. You can find out more on hoobazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran Mark Holmes of Reaper's Detailing Power Washing, and my supporters, Case on Shaving Company, Exceptional Parent Magazine, and Black Cat Designs. I love conversations. I love the way we can talk with each other and share stories. Today is no exception. I love it when Don and Anna from Core PR reach out to me with one of their artists. I've talked to several of them before, and today is another treat for you. Army veteran, accomplished Nashville recording artist and radio artist. I am pleased to introduce Army veteran John Michael Ferrari on Oscar Mike Radio. John, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. Yay. Two veterans.
two veterans, one with a silky smooth voice. That's you, John.
Ah.
And quite a story. And, what I'd like to do is just start off with, who's John in? How did you get started in life and music? And we'll talk about your military career next, but introduce us to who you are, please, sir.
Well, I was a young kid living in San Francisco on California and Polk Street, if anybody's familiar where that's at. And I remember one day I asked my stepdad if I could have a guitar. And we went down to Market Street, south of Market Street, there was a little pawn shop. And we went in there and we picked out a guitar for me. And I took it home. I didn't know how to play it, didn't even know how to hold it. And I was trying to figure out this way or this way or this way. And I thought, I'll look at a picture of Elvis. And however he's holding it, that's how I'm going to hold it. And because I'm left-handed, but I held it right-handed. And that's how I learned how to play it, right-handed.
Yeah, because in your videos, you're holding it right-handed.
Yeah, I'm left-handed, but I play right-handed.
All right, so just military question real quick. Do you shoot left-handed or right-handed in the Army? Did you?
I shoot with my right hand.
Okay, that's wild.
I write left-handed, but I had to, in order to write on the blackboard, because left-handed people write like this.
Right.
I can't go to the blackboard and write like that. I had to learn how to write right-handed on the blackboard with my right hand.
Fantastic.
So I write left-handed like this, right-handed on the blackboard.
But you picked
So
it up.
now I can write with either hand. I can either, whatever hand I pick up with, that's the hand I'll write with.
And so you can play probably right and left-handed. So that's.
I don't know if I can play the opposite way. That's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But I throw a ball right-handed. The only thing I do is I eat left-handed and write left-handed, but everything else is right-handed.
That's truly amazing. I mean, because I play the piano and I'm messing around with the bass right now, and I cannot imagine trying to play it left-handed. I just couldn't do it. So you got started off, you got the guitar as a kid, and you watched Elvis and started playing?
Yeah, well, once I saw the right way to hold it, I immediately started to pick out chords. And Tom Dooley was the first song I ever learned how to play. Dun, 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 dun. And it was just gradual. I just started learning chords. I remember going to Sears and Roebuck and getting a chord book. And my best chord that I liked was a C major 7. I hit that and I go, oh, that sounds so nice. That was my first real chord to learn how to play, C major 7.
So did you practice on your own and just pick it up on your own with no teacher or lessons?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, I just played it on my own. But at the time when I got the guitar, I wasn't completely enthralled with the guitar. I mean, I played it, I liked it. At that time, at that age, I was involved in skating at the ice skating and roller skating. So I was really spending 8 to 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day at the rink, practicing all the time. And then I'd come home and plunk on the guitar a little bit, but I was really into skating in competition at that age. So that's where I kind of learned discipline about once you start doing something, you do it over and over again. Roller skating at the Sutros ice skating rink in San Francisco, or Skateland at the beach in San Francisco.
Man,
If
that's
anybody's
awesome.
familiar with that.
So you're growing up and you're going through life, and you have a very interesting backstory there where, home life was tough, and then you kind of, move past that. And then you join well, did you get drafted into the Army, or did you join the Army? I wasn't really clear on that.
Well, here's the thing. When I was living in San Francisco, I went to school until I was in the 8th grade. I lived in the East Bay, Walnut Creek, Concord, for a year. And then when I went to the 9th grade, I moved up to Reno, Nevada. And I kind of got in trouble a lot. So I had to go to court one day in juvenile court. And the judge said, "You were incorrigible." Well, I'd never heard the word incorrigible. I thought he was giving me a compliment. And I said, "Thank you, Your Honor." And he said, "You're pretty smart," whatever guy. And he made me a ward of the state. I wasn't bad enough to go to reform school, but they sent me to the Nevada State Children's Home, which was a nice place to be, actually. And I spent a few years at the Nevada State Children's Home. And then at the age, almost 18, I was released, and I was sitting at the Golden Nugget with my friend, Charlie. And we were both in the same predicament. We were kind of in school, out of school. And we're sitting at the Golden Nugget, and he says, "You know what? We should join the military, because if we don't, we're going to end up in jail." And I said, "I think you're right." So I said, "What do we do?" He said, "Well, let's go down to the Selective Service Office. It's right down the street, and sign up." I said, "Okay." So we left the Golden Nugget and went down to the Selective Service Office and said, "I want to be drafted." And I said, "I'm 17, but I'll be 18 in a few months." And they said, "Sign here." And when I turned 18, 2 weeks later, I was drafted into the military.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. Then I went to Oakland, California, and for my physical and everything, and we stood on a long line. And the sergeant walked down and says, "You're in the Navy, you're in the Navy, you're in the Marines, and you're in the Army," just like that. And that's how I got into the Army, because they were drafting all the services. You could have been drafted into the Marines, could have been drafted into the Navy. It was whatever their call was, and I would be standing in a spot where I went into the Army, which was fine. I wanted to go into the Navy, but the Army was fine. All my relatives were in the military, so I really wanted to be in the military. On my grandmother's mantle, there was all of our relatives in the military outfit. When I was a little boy, I thought I want to be on that mantle as a military person too. So I was inspired by my cousins and everything who had already served in the military, that I wanted to do that as well.
What was the Vietnam experience like? The reason I ask, those who I know who have served in Vietnam is, you watch some movies and think that's how it was, and they're like, that's only just a sliver of what it was actually like. So, if you can, what was that time like for you?
Well, when you go through training, they really brainwash you. They brainwash you in the sense that they make you believe, when I went to jump school, they make you believe that if your parachute didn't open and you hit the ground, the first thing you do is jump up and yell airborne. In reality, if you hit the ground, your parachute doesn't open, you're dead. But you believe that you're that tough. You believe that you're invincible, that you can actually go into combat and survive it. And they put that belief in you. And they train you over and over again in combat techniques. They always say, "We don't train you to fight, we train you to kill." And that's what they do. So by the time you get to Vietnam, you're running on autopilot. You're running with everything that they trained you to do. It's like you don't have to think twice. You just do it. But when you're in combat, it's total confusion, because it is so loud. You have with the artillery going off, the jets coming in, people yelling, people screaming. It's not like the movies that say, "Okay, everybody, we're going to advance." You can't hear anything. So you're going off of just what you've been trained to do. If somebody gives you a hand signal or something like that, you just do it, because it is total confusion. That was the first thing that I realized when you're in combat, that it is very confusing, especially in Vietnam, because you didn't always see the enemy. You only heard where the shots were coming from. You thought you heard where it was coming from. You think maybe it's on your flank, but it could be on the other direction. It's really deceiving because the echo, and you can you can feel the wind of the bullets as they pass by your ear. If you just take that, go like that with your ear, that's how close
Get
the
out.
bullet go
So
right by your ear.
that
You
bullet's like 8 inches from your ear, or
Oh, it
closer.
goes right by. You can feel the bullets pass you. The heat. You never realize the heat that it encumbers when those bullets are flying through the air and it goes and misses your head. You can feel the heat and you feel the wind go. But you're trained and you just think you just keep going on. If you weren't trained that way, you would fall to pieces. And that was where I got my inspiration for my first song, Dustoff, because it was taken from an incident on my first operation getting into Vietnam.
Okay.
We went to base camp and they shipped us right into the jungle. And the very next day, we were in combat. And I remember all day long we were in combat. That night, we had a reprieve for a while. Everything slowed down. And then at night, it all picked up again. The combat all through the night. And I remember during that night looking up and seeing the helicopter. It's called the Dustoff. It comes in, it picks up the wounded and the dead. And I saw that helicopter coming in. And there's a red light that shines at the bottom. You go red, you can see that. Well, they're not supposed to come in during combat, but they're there to give you support and help you. And they would come in and they try to get all the wounded people out and get them to medevac, get them back to base camp so they could somehow save their lives. But they'd come in under fire, even though they weren't supposed to, but they did. And that was called the Dustoff. And when I got back to base camp, I think about a couple of weeks later, I wrote about that incident, and that's the song Dustoff. Got a bullet in my side and it hurts so bad, but I can't die because my girl would be sad. 20 more days and Jody be taking my place. Well, if you're not in the military, you wouldn't know what Jody means. But
Oh,
I don't know,
Jody, you know who Jody is?
the guy back home with your girl.
Yeah, I met Jody too. How about that?
Yeah.
Jody's everywhere.
Yes. Come on, NCO, got to get on the ball. Tell the RTO to put in a call. Those are all military terms, but I wrote it that way, and I didn't write it for any other reason, just to write it. But I sang it for a couple of guys, and the officers heard it, and then they asked me to come to the officers club and sing it, and that was a big hit. And of course, then I would, just do a little show with that song and some of the other songs I knew how to play. And about a week and a half of doing that, I felt guilty that I was not going out with the rest of the guys on combat missions. And I asked to be relieved from playing the officers clubs to go back to my unit. I need to go back to my unit because I can't do this. There was this sense of guilt that all the other guys were going out to the field and I was being in this nice, safe environment, and I didn't want to be there like that. So they put me back out there, and that's where I wanted to be.
How long did you serve in Vietnam, John?
A year, 11 months and 22 days, I think it was, something like that.
And what was
And
it
then
like?
they sent me to Fort Gordon, Georgia, as an instructor. And I was there only until a couple of months, and I got out of the military. But they offered me E5 and $5,000 if I would have stayed in. See, now I got out. I should have stayed in. I would have still had that $5,000.
Sometimes you can't put a price tag on being like done. I get it.
So I was a young man and I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. And, I got out of the military and all I did was get in trouble. And out of all the regrets I have, and very few, I just think looking back, I thought if somebody would have talked with me, if I would have had a mentor, they would have said, John, stay in the military. You don't have anything else going for you right now. Stay there for 4 more years and just put your time in. I could have done that. I should have done that. But because the next few years, all I did was get in trouble with, at the law, and I was just kind of a rowdy kid. But
but how do you go from being a sergeant, corporal sergeant lawbreaker to getting into actually, starting to find your music, because you've been doing this a long time, John.
I have, I used to play in high school. I played in bands and things. And when I got out of the military, that was the only thing I thought I knew how to do at the time. And there were clubs, there were steakhouses, there were everywhere you go. Every restaurant had entertainment. And I would go there and ask for a job, and I'd audition, and they'd always hire me. And I'd sit in the corner, and I'd play all the Jim Croce songs and Cat Stevens songs and all these different songs that were popular at the time. And I made a small living. I think I was making about 30, 40 bucks a night. But, that wasn't bad because my rent was only about $75 a month, so I was doing okay, But, the thing is, back then, there were so many venues that had entertainment that a person could learn their craft. You could learn it, you could learn a repertoire of songs, and you could develop your skills and get paid for it. They don't have that now for anybody. But back then, it was available to all of us that knew how to play and sing all these different songs. And it was a nice way to make a living. I enjoyed that.
When did you start writing your own songs? Because, a lot of musicians like yourself start off playing cover songs or other people's songs, but some of them develop more into their own style. When did you start to really find, who John, Michael Ferrari was as a songwriter performer?
Well, I wrote songs when I was in high school.
Okay.
I never thought of me as a writer. And then when I got out of the military, I wrote some songs also, but I had no idea on how to get from where I was to recording. I was living up in Walnut Creek area, Concord area. I should have been living in LA or Nashville, because then I would have been introduced in that atmosphere, because that's where everything was happening. I was born in LA, but I didn't really grow up there, although I did come back later on. I didn't know how to make that transition. So even though I wrote songs, I did the cover songs because those were the ones that were paying. Anytime you do your own songs, you really don't get paid for it. But when you do third-party songs, you get paid for it. But if you stick with writing your own songs, there's a big payoff there.
Okay.
And it wasn't until years later that when I met Pepper J, that she made that transition for me. She said, we're going to take your songs and we're going to give you a different career, because I was really doing cover songs, but I was at the top of my game for being an unknown. I was getting paid really well to do shows, concerts, dinner houses. I would come out and sing cover songs. I'd do anything from Tom Jones to Al Jolson to whatever was popular, at that time in the music genre of popular songs. I knew how to play them all. So I could go anywhere and entertain people and get paid for it. But I was getting paid very well. I'll tell you a story. One night, I was playing in Las Vegas. I was playing the casino there. And I think it was the Continental. It was on Paradise Road at the time. And my friend came in, and I'm up on stage and I'm singing, I'm dancing, I'm moving around and doing the whole thing. And then I said, okay, everybody, I'm going to take a break and I'll be right back. And my friend's sitting at the table. And I walk over to where he's at, and he's got this strange look on his face. And he goes, John, what are you doing? I go, what do you mean? He says, you're putting on this big show and there's nobody here. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm playing the lounge, 3 o'clock. And he said, why are you doing that? He said, you're only getting $75 a night like I am. And I told him, I said, if I give them a $75 show, that's all I ever get. I want to make $1,000 a night. And if I will try to put on that kind of show. And it wasn't long after that, a few years later, that I started making that kind of money. But when you start making that kind of money, that's about as high as you can get as doing cover songs. But it was good. It was a good living, you know, it was nice living. But it wasn't until my agent in Las Vegas, Steve Sheldon, I don't think he's with us any longer, but he was a very well-known agent. He said, John, I'm not going to book you anymore. I go, what? He says, you got to get out of Las Vegas. He said, you're not going to have a career here. If you want to have a career, go anywhere else, but not Las. You come to Las Vegas after you've made it. You don't come here to make it.
Okay.
And, you know, there were a lot of us performing in clubs that were just doing cover songs. But he liked me and he was giving me good advice. He said, do what you do and people will find you. But you have to find yourself. What is it that you do? Cover songs aren't really, you know, going to get you anywhere. So he said, but I'm going to book you one more time. I'm going to book you outside of Palm Springs. There's a little club called Highland Springs. It's a resort, very similar to, remember Dirty Dancing?
Yeah.
It was a resort like that.
Okay.
He said, I'm going to book you there for the summer. They're going to take care of you. You're going to live in the cottage. They have a lot of things going on, and you're going to be in the lounge. They have a main showroom and they have a lounge. You're going to be in the lounge. And he said, so, you know, so he sent me there and actually he sent me about 3.5 weeks before the season started. So when I got there, I met, I forget who was the property manager of the grounds, and they were informed that I was coming. So they were going to, they had a cottage ready for me. They said, there's nobody here except the groundkeepers because the season hasn't started yet. He said, but I'm gonna take you to the kitchen. You go in there and you make your food and things like that. You're gonna have the whole place to yourself, you know, for 3.5 weeks. And it was quite an experience. And then the season started and it was like busy, just like you saw in the movie Dirty Dancing. And that's where I met Pepper J. I met her and I was playing the lounge. I was playing the lounge with my partner, Michelle.
Okay.
Now, Michelle it was a mannequin that the bartender was going to get rid of. So she was inviting me over, her and her husband invited me over for dinner one night, and there was a mannequin in the corner. I said, what are you doing with that mannequin? She said, I'm going to throw it out. I said, no, let me have it. I'm going to take the mannequin. She said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I have an idea. I said, do you have any clothes for the mannequin? She gave, yeah, I have a red dress. So she gave me the red dress. I put it on the mannequin. So what I did is I put my keyboard up, and I put the mannequin behind the keyboard. So like she's like that, sitting on the keyboard. And I was standing on the stage playing my guitar. And in between the songs, I would talk to the mannequin. I called her Michelle. And people just thought that was hilarious. And some people didn't catch on that it was a mannequin for the longest time. Hey, hey, Michelle, how you doing? We got a good crowd tonight. Hey, what do you want to play? Let's play some songs here. And that's what I would do. I just kind of, so it was funny, you know. She fell apart after a while. But one night.
You have a little bit of a comedic flair in you, John. Did you ever use comedy in your shows? Because you're funny, man.
I don't know. Well, I when I'm doing shows, I ad lib a lot of stuff, you know, and there are some routines in there that I have, you know, I put in there. But, you know, the most important thing is that you entertain the audience. You don't just sing, you know, and I kind of learned that after all these years playing in little clubs. You talk to the people because, you know, it's more important not just the songs, but you communicate with the people. You talk with them, you interact with them, and they remember you.
Yeah.
And you just try to be yourself. And if you think you're going to say something funny, don't say it because it doesn't come out funny. and I've learned that, because I'm talking, I'm saying it, something pops in my head like, oh, this is going to be funny. And I'll say it and it's like bombs, you got to be spontaneous. You just got to just go with it. Whatever comes to it just happens right there at that moment. You just say it and it's usually funny. It works out pretty well. But Pepper came in one night and I think I sang Lady in Red to her. And she was in the audience and I walked over and I think I danced. I grabbed her and I danced with her and I sang to her on the dance floor where I'm holding a microphone and doing Lady in Red. Now, let me preface that. You're probably thinking, well, how can you sing Lady in Red if you're playing the guitar and you're not playing the guitar right at that moment? I started learning, this was back in the 80s, late 80s. I started working with MIDI. You're familiar with MIDI?
Yeah, the MIDI interfaces, yeah.
Yeah, back in the 80s. I started programming my music. So I had songs, maybe about 25 songs programmed that I did. So when I wasn't playing guitar, I would play them on my computer. I'd bring in my little computer and I would play the songs on a Commodore 64. And that's how I could play, I could interact.
You were a Commodore guy?
Yeah, well, at that time, the Commodore 64, it was pretty popular, at that time.
Instant cred, man. I used to play with my friends on that computer.
Yeah. So, I programmed some of the songs so I could actually put down the guitar and interact with the people. But I was singing Lady in Red and she said, you know what, you're pretty good, but I can make you better. I said, oh, really?
Now, let me stop you right there. When you had to have heard that several times, why did you believe Pepper and not other people?
Because nobody ever said that to me. Nobody ever.
Oh, really?
Everybody thought I was good, and I was good, making a living at it. But I didn't have that transition. I never made that transition other than I was a guitar player, but I didn't know how to really be on stage as a performer. There's a big difference between singing and being a performer, an entertainer and performer. I didn't know how to make that transition. And she grew up in the business because when she was a kid, her best friend was, her grandmother's best friend was Sophie Tucker. I don't know if you know who Sophie Tucker is.
Sounds familiar.
So, well, Sophie Tucker used to be part of the Rat Pack. She would be singing with Sinatra and all those people. So Pepper grew up in the atmosphere of the Rat Pack of Sinatra and being involved in all that stuff. And she knew what performers how to make performers, because she grew up in that. So she kind of took me under and taught me how to make that transition from being just a musician into being an entertainer and performer on stage. And at some point she said, you need to write your own songs. And I thought, well, I have songs, but I don't know. They were okay. But anyways, I didn't have the confidence back then, doing my own songs. But a few years later, I started recording my songs. And a few years after that, when I got discontented with playing clubs all the time. I really wanted to quit. I said, I'm done with music. And so I'll do photography. So I did photography for a few years and I became very good at that. And it was a nice little business. But I started writing songs again. And when I started writing songs, she said, we'll go to Nashville and record these songs. And I said, okay. And that was the big change in my career right there. Because once you start doing your own material, you're in a whole different arena in the music industry. Because everybody starts off as a band. The Beatles started off as a cover band. The Eagles started off as a cover band. All the major bands started off as cover bands. Then they started writing their songs. Well, that was my transition. I started off playing music in a band and cover songs like that. But it wasn't until I started recording my own songs that I felt the transition. All of a sudden, I'm in a different area of my career, an area I've never been before, because now I'm viewed differently. I'm viewed as a different kind of artist. And when we went to Nashville and recorded our first songs, we thought we're going to take their advice. I knew how to write in format structure, radio structure, a thing called radio structure. If you don't write in radio structure, you're not going to get radio play. You may get some, but you won't get much. But I knew how to make that transition. I knew how to write in a good structure. And when we got to the studio, our session leader said, John, he says, you have an extra verse here. It takes you out of the radio structure. You got to lose the verse or you can keep it. You make that choice. I love that verse, but we took it out. As it turned out, that song was number 2, on the national charts. Well, once that happened, I had a whole different career. And then the next song came out and that hit the charts. And the next song came out and I got on the charts. I mean, all of a sudden you're doing things in a different part of life I've never experienced before, because now I'm not just a cover artist. I'm actually an artist that writes and does my own songs. Like James Taylor. I could have, if I would have started back then I would have been with all those guys, I guess.
Right.
But I didn't have a mentor. And that's why today I try to mentor young people and give them the opportunity and the guidance. Pepper and I both do that together, that they might have a career faster than what I had, because I just kind of lingered. I had no idea. If it wasn't for Pepper, I wouldn't even be where I am today, because she made all this happen.
Now,
But you need
just out of curiosity, I mean, you've been with Pepper for a while. So your success has been because of your relationship with someone like her. Whereas it seems like some artists will bounce around from, producer, manager, so on and so forth. Was it important for you to stay with Pepper?
Well, yeah, because, we're opposites, complete opposites, but that's what makes it work. And she's, her education and her knowledge of how to do things is out of my platform, because she does all the business. And that's what artists need. They need somebody who can do all the business. And I can do some of it, but not what she does. But she doesn't do what I do, being an artist and writing songs and arranging. But she's there to listen to what I'm doing, and she has a good ear for things. So we're just a good partnership. We've been together over 30 some years.
Wow. So wait. Hold on. Stop. Time out. You've been together professionally longer than the average marriage, John, is like what, 6.5 years now at best?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, there's some real like synergy going on between you two professionally to work like that.
Yeah, we work well together. I mean, we're together every day. We have a relationship,
Nice.
And it's a good relationship, we just, it was meant to be, I guess, who knows. But as far as my career, it's good, because I mean, she's had the education. She's been a teacher, she's been a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
She knows things. She handles the contracts, she does the bookings. I mean, at one point she gave up being a lawyer to do our music.
That's
She
incredible.
said, I want to do what you do, because you have fun. I don't like going to the office every day.
Well, let me ask you a question then that I ask all artists. Everybody gets asked the same question here on Oscar Mike Radio, and there's no favorites done here, but we'll see. We have a lot of fun with this. So you have been in business for a very long time, right? You've been doing this at a very high level. You're award winning, and there comes a point in time where some artists like, Paul McCartney and Neil Young, where someone like Sony will say, hey, we'll buy, or Michael Jackson, we'll buy your entire song catalog, and they sell it and kind of retire. So my question and I just asked this, earlier today to somebody else, if you got, or I have a check right now for $300 million, that's what Neil Young got offered for his catalog. But if you take the check, John, you're done performing in public. You can never perform in public ever again. You're done doing that, but you have the money. Would you take the money?
Probably not. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because we're already situated really well,
good.
so we wouldn't need to do that, but $301 million, yes, 300 million, no.
Okay, I haven't heard that before. Usually it's a no, like, like this is who I am. This is what I do. I don't care if I'm singing to one person or a million. I love the aspect of creating music, but why would you take $1 million and not 300?
No, but what I'm saying is that, I mean, if you needed the money, yeah, you would take it, but
Yeah.
we don't need the money. I mean, we don't have that much money, but, we live comfortably, and we do what we do. But see, if you sell your catalog, that doesn't preclude you from performing live. You can still perform live. I mean, and you still have the recognition of all the songs, so you can still live off of those songs because you have a reputation of going out in public and singing those songs and getting paid for it. So you can still make a good living, just even if you sold your catalog completely, you can still go out and sell, do performances, get paid.
It's just like kind of a lighthearted question that, gets people thinking. And I've had a lot of artists, no artist has ever said yes. Doesn't matter. No artist has ever said yes, and you keep that streak going. One of the things that I see, I'm on your website, and I'll have the link to your website in the Oscar Mike Radio show post. The website is johnmichaelferrari.com. And again, folks, I'll have that and there's other links in the Oscar Mike Radio website post. But one of the things is you do keep this, every now and then you do have like a Love America song or a patriotic song, and then you give honor to those who've served in the military. So that kind of gets me curious about, I'm listening to Soldier's Prayer, and I was really interested in that because learning about it, you really had a very specific reason why you wrote that and wanted it to sound the way it did. And I was hoping you'd tell us a story behind that song, please.
Well, Pepper likes certain songs.
Okay.
And I think the last time we were going to Nashville, she said, oh, by the way, I think I need another song to fulfill this slot because she has what do you call it? Gospel songs, inspirational songs. And I've written 4 of them, I guess, and she needed one more to complete it, a set, so that we could promote that. And I said, I don't know, what would I write? And I don't know, I think I wrote something. The thing is, with that particular song, I only had a few hooks in there, but I wrote down a lot of lyrics. And, Pepper was actually more credited for putting it together because she took the lyrics I had and used those. She really said, I'll use this one and this one and this one. And she pieced it together. And she said, but I need a chorus. Give me a chorus. And then I wrote that chorus, that whatever it is. How's it go?
Pride and Grace.
Pride and Grace, yeah.
Soldier's Prayer.
And as it turned out, it was strange because it's a song about the view of a dead soldier.
Yeah.
Dead soldiers talking. And where I got that idea from was different sources. But, in the song I sing about, I've seen the pain on a soldier's face, and both sides say, "Bring me home safely." And I was referring to, no matter who the enemy is that you're fighting, both sides want to come home.
Yeah.
You know, they have their families, we have our families. I've seen when we captured Viet Cong in combat, and when we captured them and we rounded them up, I could see the fear in their eyes as it would, we would have the fear in our eyes if we were captured by the Viet Cong, you know, and they have their families and they want to go home. And, you know, I've seen that on both sides, and that's what the song is kind of like. Both sides say, "Bring me home safely." We have our families, and this soldier didn't make it back home, but he was married and he has a new bride. But for 60 years, he watched over her, his wife, until the day that she would die and join him again. And I got that concept from an old movie called The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. Have you ever seen that?
I've not seen that, no.
Okay, so it's about an old sea captain that
Okay.
lives in a house. And he's dead now, but he lives there as a ghost in the house. And anytime people try to come into the house, he scares them off, except for this one lady. She falls in love with the house, and he tries to scare her off, and it doesn't work with her. And she confronts him. She said, "I'm not going anywhere, you know, I'm living here, and you're dead, and you don't belong here anymore." And so they have a rocky relationship, but over the years, they develop a love for each other. And at some point, he decides that he has to leave because he can't have this affection for a human that's alive and he's a ghost. But he watches over her and he leaves her. And as years go on, she gets older and older until one day she's an older person sitting in a chair, rocking chair, and she's ready to die, and he starts to appear, you know, and as she fades off into a sleep and dies, he comes and he takes her hand, and she becomes a young woman again, and they're united. And that's how I kind of got that concept of the soldier. He waits for his wife to grow old, and then he comes back for her.
It is a beautiful song. It is a beautiful song, and really told it from the stories from a different perspective that you don't hear a lot of. It's from that deceased soldier's perspective. So I really liked it, and I'll have the YouTube link to it in the radio post as well.
Well, the first time I played it for Pepper, she cried. And every time I think about it and I go through it, it chokes me up too. It has, you know, that's why I don't sing the song. There's a few songs I don't sing that have an emotional attachment, and it just kind of rocks me, and it's hard emotionally to get through it, you know, and that's one of them. I probably wouldn't sing that live. I couldn't imagine me singing it live because I don't think I could get through the song.
Wow. You know, John, I meet a lot of veterans who, served their country, and maybe they did something before they got in the military. They were, in college for a little while, in a trade school, or just bounced around, but they sang, had a guitar or whatever, and they get out and they want to, make a living doing this. And a lot of them tell me it's very frustrating, very hard. I was just curious if you had, you say you mentor some of these younger folks. Well, do you have any, advice you could share for the veteran artist who's trying to break into the music scene, post-military service?
For any artist or just
Veterans
military?
primarily, yeah.
Well, as a veteran, you have a lot of opportunities, because you can go to government, you can get government jobs. I mean, you have priority. Yeah, as a veteran, you have a certain priority in government jobs. You can, you'll get almost any job. You could work for the government, you
Well-
work for the police force or anything. But
Well,
if you want
I'm talking about the music business, like, so they get out of the military as like a, machine gunner or, foreman, and they want to take they were playing the guitar during their military service, and now they want to break into the music business.
well, number one, you have to have a really specific goal.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in the music business, you have to know exactly what you want. Are you going to be a musician? Are you going to play backup for people? Are you going to just play in bands? You can play cover bands. You can go to school and learn how to be a music teacher. Or you can be someone like that goes to Nashville and wants to be a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Now, the more specific you are about what you want, the better chance you're going to have. Now, if you're going to be a singer-songwriter, you have to pick the genre that you want to be in. Is it country? Is it pop? And then you have to learn that style of writing, that particular format of writing. Now, I know a lot of artists that are very talented, but they don't want to write in that structure of radio format. Well, if you don't write in radio format, you can't expect to get on the radio. If you can't get on the radio, you're not going to get the recognition that you want to where you want to succeed. So you really have to be specific. Now, I know what I wanted to do was get on the radio. So I studied radio format songs. I've sung radio format songs, all the different songs I learned how to sing. I was familiar with the structure, where the verse was. Your intro is 4 bars or it's 8 bars if it's a fast song. Your verse is 8 bars, 2 verses. You have a pre-chorus, a chorus, you have a post-chorus. You have to know all these. You have to write in this particular format. Then if you write a good song, it doesn't have to be a great song, a good song in this structure, you have a good chance, if you're promoting it, you can get on the radio. You start getting radio play. But if you write a great song that doesn't fit that format, you're not going to get on the radio. So you really have to know your goal and what you want to do. Because if you want radio format, but you're writing in a different format structure of your song, of your music, you're gonna miss where you want to go. So it's not that difficult. You just have to know what you want specifically and find somebody that will help you achieve that goal. Like Pepper produces all my music. So, and you got to have a producer when you go into a recording studio. I know a lot of people have home studios. I have a home studio. And to be an engineer, it takes years to be a really good engineer. And I'm an adequate engineer, but I don't use it for that. I use it to write my songs and arrangements. But when I take those songs, we go to Nashville, we sit with an arranger called a radio, what do you call him? Session leader.
Okay.
And we sit and we rewrite out the chords and get an idea of where the song is going to go, so that it best suits where we want to go in the radio world. And Pepper produces that. You have to have a good producer with good ears. The artist communicates with the producer communicates with the session leader communicates with the musicians. It's structure. That's the way it's done. And when an artist goes in by himself without a producer, it's just too much for an artist to have to think about. The artist is there to do specific thing, to be creative and do what his songs require for him to do artistically. But the producer, he takes control of everything else, and they're handling, whatever they're trying to accomplish what you want, but they're trying to make it happen in a way that's going to get you good results. So there are certain things you have to have in play. If you have these things in play, you're going to have a really good chance. But one thing you got to do is invest in yourself. Many singer-songwriters I've met, and I go, oh God, I've heard your songs. When you do the writers round in Nashville, where did you recording? They go, I've never recorded it. Well, why not? They say, well, because I have no money, I'm broke. Well, that's no excuse. If you got to record your songs, you got to put money into it, even if it's a demo or something. But if you don't record that, your songs aren't going to get heard anywhere.
You've had a very long career. I mean, I'm on your site and, getting spun up for this and listening to your music, and you've been doing this for a long time. Is it still fun to do at this stage in your career? Are you still enjoying getting up there and entertaining audiences and making them happy? Does that still fuel your drive?
It is a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing my songs. And I'm always surprised sometimes when I'm singing a song, I think to myself, I can't believe I actually wrote this. It's like, but writing the song and getting it to where it is, there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of people involved. Like I said, there's the artist, there's the producer, there's the session leader, there's the musicians, there's the engineers that mix it, the mastering. There's a whole lot of people involved.
Yeah.
To get where you want to go. But I enjoy it. But I tell you what I really enjoy is meeting all the other people and interacting with all the other people. When you go to Nashville, you do these writers' rounds in Nashville, and you get to perform with all the other artists. That camaraderie is really inspiring because everybody is so supportive of each other. Now they're all trying to get that recording contract and everything, and they want to beat you out of it. I mean, they're not trying to beat you out of it. They just want it for themselves. But other than that, everybody's very supportive of what you're doing. If your song is, you're singing your song, everybody in the audience is supportive. They're listening to you. People want to co-write with you. It's a really positive atmosphere. But everybody's trying to get that recording contract. Unless you're a successful independent artist. Now, we're an independent artist. We're not looking for recording contracts. That's not something that we feel we need to do, because once you re-sign that piece of paper and you're obligated to a record company, you don't make any more decisions. You can't put a goat on your CD cover like we did. We have a goat on our CD cover. We can do whatever we want, how we want to promote our music. We can record any song we want. We have complete control on how we want to produce it. But when you sign that record agreement, that contract, you lose all that. You don't have any more control. Your ideas and opinions don't matter to them. They have their ideas of how they're going to market you, and you follow what they want. They may listen to you and say, oh, that's a really nice idea. Keep it to yourself. This is what we're going to do.
Wow.
So there's a trade-off, because, and then when you sign that, they may give you $100,000, a couple $100,000 in your pocket, but that's a loan. You have to pay that back. A lot of people don't realize, even if they give you $1 million, oh, we're going to give you $1 million to sign this recording contract. That's a loan. They're not giving it to you. That's a loan, and they're going to send you on tour, and you've got to, and out of that $1 million, you have to pay for all the expenses and everything. So there's a certain thing, signing a contract that's good, because they could get you to become world famous on a different higher level, like Taylor Swift, people like that. But you give up a lot, and the fame isn't always that exciting when it's nice to people recognize you when you're some places and people go, oh, John Michael, I love your music, like that. But people don't mob me, but it's nice that they recognize me. But I don't know if I want to be as famous as somebody like Taylor or like that, But it's nice to have that kind of success, but you do lose a lot of your freedom and spontaneity.
This is just like a master class. Like I didn't know anything about radio format. I figured some songs didn't get played because of certain things, but had no idea about that. And really your perspective on what it takes to succeed is very key, because I think a lot of not just veteran artists, but artists in general, just try to do everything all at once or think they don't need a producer's help. And Pepper's award-winning, man. I mean,
Yeah.
she's good at this, better than.
Well, you need somebody like that.
Yeah.
You should interview her because you get a whole different perspective on the music industry. I mean, she literally communicates with people all over the world. She has connections, she'll be speaking with somebody in Australia and then Germany or things like that, our songs hit the charts over there. She contacts the people and she says, we want to say thank you very much for, playing our song, and she makes sure that we are in communication with them and we appreciate it. And I mean, there's a lot of work that goes on to it. From the time she gets up in the morning after she feeds the animals, I mean, she's doing work. She's communicating with people. She's sending out stuff. She's promoting it. She is the record company, and as an artist, it's hard for an artist to do all that work. It's amazing the things that she gets done. And then my obligation is when she says, I need this type of song and I need this at this particular time, I have to come up with that. She says, you have a radio show, you have to be prepared. You're more successful that you become, the more people rely on you, the more responsible you have to be. And that's a big awakening for many people, for artists. The more successful you are, the more responsible you have to be because other people depend on you and they need you to own up to it,
What's next for you and Pepper for your music in 2024 and 2025, John?
Well, we're leaving for Nashville next week. We're going
Okay.
on a Smoky Mountain tour. It's called the Smoky Mountain Tour. People could go to johnmichaelferrari.com. And I think there's a tour of all the places that we're going to be performing. We're also recording some new songs in Nashville. We're taking two of our kids, our students, to Nashville with us. One of them is Sophie Love. She's recording her third song. She's recording her third song in Nashville. And she's also getting an award at the Las Vegas Music Awards in March. She's getting her first award. Exciting for her. See, now we've taken her and Pepper's guided her with her career. And within how long since Nashville? We took Sophie. Been a year? Well, since within that year, I mean, she's accomplished a lot. But she's accomplished a lot because Pepper knows how to navigate and where we're taking her. So we're taking her again, which she's touring with me and singing her songs, and she also sings backup for me. And we're taking a new student who's written a very good Christmas song. And she's going to record it for her first time. This is her first time going to Nashville. And she's going to be in the studio. And her and her mother are flying in with us. And Pepper's guiding her and helping her navigate to where, she can have some success. And hopefully her Christmas song will do well enough and pay for her college education.
Nice. I'm on your website now looking at young people tunes, and you've got a whole youth movement going on, John. It's really cool.
Well, if you can find a mentor, somebody who's doing what you're doing and successful at it, you will save years of painful mistakes. You got to listen to what they're saying, and you may feel like I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't want to do that, then you're going to spend those years making mistakes. But if you have a mentor and you listen to your mentor and take their advice, you're going to get where you want to go a lot faster, because it's all about making good choices and good decisions.
Yeah.
And working on your craft. I work with Sophie. We work every day. We rehearse every day for our shows. And I sing all the time and practice every day for those performances. And we've been practicing earlier today for our tour that's coming up starting next week. Getting ready for that.
Yeah, I see that. I click on the tour link in your website, and literally this starts next week, and then our show is going to drop March 20th between your 18th and 26th show. So you're Oscar Mike, man. You're moving around.
Yeah, yeah. She makes that happen, and because it's funny, because a lot of other artists, come to her and say, "Will you manage me?" And Pepper says, "I got a lot just managing John. That's a lot of work just managing one person."
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, I have learned a lot, and this just you have your perspective from your childhood, serving in Vietnam and seeing that up close and personal, and then the soldier's prayer, which it really touched me as someone who I didn't serve in Vietnam, John, but I lost fellow Marines during my time in, even though we didn't serve in combat. But it really, communicated to me. It really touched me in a way that I'm sure you can understand. So I've just learned a lot. Had a blast talking with you. And if I get down to Nashville, and I'd like to definitely come see you live.
Thank you, thank you. Well, it's I'm very fortunate. I have a good support group, and you need that in this business. And there's times you're going to have hard knocks, along the way. And if you have your family and support group, they'll help you along. I lost my mother some time ago, but my sister, ever since I was a very little kid, she's always looked out after me. And whenever I needed help, I called my sister and need help, and she was always there for me. And she's been my support, and thank God for her and for Pepper. And there's always a lot of people involved in a career that help you, and you just appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm with John Michael Ferrari, U.S. Army veteran, Vietnam veteran, and successful recording artist. John, I just want to thank you for sharing with me. Really appreciate Core PR for setting this up. And Pepper, the set is on point. I love it, and I love the cats too. I think that's really cool, and hope to meet you in person someday, John, and hear you perform.
Where are you from? Where do you live at?
I'm currently in the Boston area.
Oh, Boston. Okay.
Yeah, but I get down to Nashville, once a year if I can. So, I'll check
keep
in.
in touch with us. Let us know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
We live out here in Nevada. If you ever come to Nevada, let us know. We have an extra spare room here.
Well, that'd be really cool. I mean, I've been to Nevada a couple times when I was in Yuma, and would ride up from Yuma to Nevada. That was very cool, and I love it. I love it. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us on the show.
Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very interesting story. If you're, even if you're not a veteran, if you want to learn about the music business succeeding, you've got a really masterclass right here. Mr. Ferrari, John, I appreciate you, and Pepper, you're doing great. I can't wait to meet you in person, and we will see you next time for Mission
All right.
Flight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Remember, on it teaches our mission. We care about it, we do it every day. But I think there are things that just hit you and give you a reason to go on. The theme for our 2024 for Reach Across America is Live with Purpose. It just seemed to fit in with the vows of the REAP, the 10 attributes that we feel represent our United States military. I thought, what a great opportunity to put those two things together and show our kids through how we act some of the things that can make their lives better, their communities better, and by doing that, the country better. For me, Live with Purpose, I think, it's a mindset. Set some guidelines and then go out and purposefully make life different, make a change. It's an opportunity to set an example.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.